Hey everybody, this is David with Edify Arms. So today I decided to make a video on a little project that I'm starting. Over the last several weeks I spent a lot of time on YouTube looking at videos of people who have decided to stipple their own firearm. So I guess I have also joined that camp. I've decided to stipple my firearm. Now I'm making this video primarily to document the process, so people can see how easy it is to stipple your gun or how hard it is to stipple your gun. So my goal is to publish this video whether this project comes out good or if it's a complete disaster. That way people can see for themselves what to expect when they engage some of this. So I've decided to do it on one of my firearms that is not my everyday carry. So this is a Glock 17 Gen 4 that I've had for a long time. I really enjoy shooting it. It's a great little firearm. But since it's not my everyday carry, I figure I can get away with trying to stipple on this. If it comes out bad, I can always buy another lower frame. So again, this is not for everybody. Some people might think this is completely stupid. That's cool. No problem. Hope you enjoyed the video anyways. You could have some good stories about what this guy did to his gun and how he screwed it up. So either way, I think this video will be entertaining for folks. So what I've decided to do is, after viewing videos online, the first step I'm going to go is I'm going to go ahead and sand down or Dremel down the exterior grip texture on my Glock 17. So what I'll do is I'll go over the stuff that came from Glock. I'll sand it down and remove it. I'm going to try to keep the Glock logo, and I'll also sand down these finger grooves as well to make it a nice straight and conformed grip. So once I go ahead and sand everything down, then what I will be doing is drawing a border. I've already started to do that a little bit. It's hard to see on the camera, but I've already started to draw a border so I can get an idea of what I want it to look like. Once I sand everything down, I'll have to redraw the borders, but I was just playing around trying to get a general idea of the design I want to go with. So again, once the sanding's done, once I do the borders, at that point I will go ahead and start stippling. So anyways, here it goes. So guys, enjoy. Again, the first thing is the sanding, and I'm doing it somewhere around middle range or middle power on my Dremel tool. I didn't go all the way up. So again, here we go. We're just nice and easy. And you don't have to do very much here. It comes off pretty easily with some light dremeling.
Again, the texture that comes on the Glock from the factory is pretty easy to remove, as you can tell. Did some very light dribbling, and it comes off pretty easily, so.
So I'm almost done. Have to do a little bit more work to get rid of these finger grooves, but so far so good. I may end up doing an undercut here, but we'll see how it goes. Again, so far so good. Everything at this point seems to line up with things I've saw online and videos people have done. Because, you know, normally when you try to copy somebody offline, there'll be one step that they forget to film, and then you're off doing this work and you run into this thing that you've never seen before, and you're in trouble. So, anyways, I'm going to keep saying this. Be very careful to stay away from the mag release. I've tried not to do anything that would distort the shape of the openings. So just again, be very careful. You don't need a lot of pressure. This is surprisingly pretty straightforward to do as far as, you know, getting rid of the old texture. Just be careful, you know, take your time, be patient, work through some of these tough spots slowly. You know, this is not something that I think you can work on and be done in an hour. I think this is definitely requiring several hours of time and patience to try to get this right. So I'm going to take my time and stop frequently throughout because my hands will get tired, or you know, I'm not completely focused, so I will stop. So anyways, let's get back to it. Feels good. looking very good. Almost got rid of these finger grooves. Again, take your time. This does make a mess, so you know, make sure you have a place where you can do this and the wife doesn't kill you, because I guarantee if I was going to do this in the house, which was my original plan, I'd be looking for a lot more than a gun to replace. So now I like this much better because the finger grooves are not as pronounced. There's still a little bit of roundness in certain areas, but it's not as defined and protruding as it was prior. So I'm pretty close to what I want to get. Got a nice good purchase on the lower receiver. It looks good. All right, I'm just gonna continue touching up a few spots, areas that I need to go back over possibly for smoothness. And you can always go back later with some fine grit sandpaper and do it by hand if there's some areas where you're a little worried about the Dremel. Okay. All right. I like that. Feels good. Like I said, it makes quite a mess. All right. I think I'm done with the initial Dremel work. I'm gonna go next to lay out my borders. I'm gonna try to draw those in by hand. There will be some areas where I'm gonna try to use a ruler or whatnot, but you know, it's a little hard with all these angles and curves. So you want to do the best you can, do what you're comfortable with. Again, I'm going to try to hand draw a good portion of it, and I'll use the straight edge for those areas that I want to get a little bit more uniformity to. So, all right, so that'll be the next spot. All right, guys, so now we are going to start doing the borders. I've drawn out by hand and pencil the shape of what I want my grip to look like, and you can sort of see it here outlined. And what I'm using to do the borders is this flex cut tool. Bought it on Amazon. It was like 18 bucks. I've seen a lot of people online use this particular tool to do their borders. Another way I've seen it done is with the Dremel. I don't know if I'm comfortable doing it with the Dremel. Actually, I don't even know how comfortable I am doing with this flex cut tool, but this is one that I'm going to use. So again, good or bad, you guys are going to get to see the final result and hopefully learn from or be inspired by what I'm doing here. Either way, I'm glad I can serve a purpose here. So with this cutting tool, you definitely want to be careful. It is very sharp. I've cut myself already several times practicing. If you push too much pressure on it, it tends to slip, and then when your hand's right there holding the gun, it end up getting caught. So I'm going to do this very slowly, and as you can see, as I do it, material starts to come up. And it doesn't take a lot to push this along. Just take your time. And I'm going over it several times because I want sort of a deeply cut border. And instead of going really hard with one pass, I'm doing it lightly with multiple passes. So try to do that. And it is relatively easy to keep a straight line with this, so you should be able to follow your markings and keep a straight edge. Again, go very slowly. Alright. So my border's coming in. Go lightly the first time you go by, and you can always go back and dig out a deeper channel for a border. Just do the first one, and it acts as sort of a guide for you doing the remaining part. And with this tool, it does allow you to make like turns. So if you're following and you're going around a rounded area, you can maneuver the tool pretty well. Again, I think, and I'm speaking as somebody who just started doing this, the trick is to just go slow, and take your time. All right. So there is my initial border. You guys can see that. So I'm going to go back through the area that I did, and I'm just going to try to deepen the channels a bit. Okay. That way I'll get that nice definition on my stippling job. think that looks pretty good. And again, you know, you can do any design you want. I just wanted to keep it sort of along the same lines as the originally stamped surface followed. You can see it much more when you put a border on it, but you know, basically, roughly, these were the lines that were already there, and I used those as guides when I did my pencil work. All right. So now this part, I'm going to do the same thing. It's a little bit harder because you're dealing with rounded surfaces. So you need to be incredibly cautious you don't blow this thing up on the finger grooves. So I'm going to start here. And again, you can't see the pencil marking, but it's there. I've seen people use, you know, wax pencils. I've seen people use, you know, Sharpies. Find something that works for you. I did pencil because if you screw up, you can erase it. So there's not a lot of risk in doing it with the pencil. Now, one thing too to keep in mind, if there's a part that you screw up a little bit and you're worried about it, you can always go back over with a Dremel. Just do a quick sand, and it'll get rid of those lines. And I'll go back and clean this up with the Dremel a little bit later to fix some of these imperfections. Alright, my lines could be straighter, but like I said before, I can pretty much fix that. by sanding, and then also by doing the stippling later. It'll clear itself up. So, all right, it's coming along. I'm going to go ahead and do a similar thing. All right, this one's gonna be fixed. I'll go back with a ruler and make sure that I have the bottom of the border lining up with the bottom of the border over here. So I'll go back with a ruler here in a little bit. Okay. Now I'll continue on. Actually, I'm going to have to measure first before I go any further, because I do want to make sure that the bottom of my stippled grip match up on both sides and have the same width from the other front and back straps. So I'll go back with a ruler and just make sure that these line up really well. Okay. All right. I'm back. I measured the bottom of my grip here. It's a ½ inch on both sides. So I'm comfortable with that. The designs match up. So you know, do all of the measuring that you need to do to feel comfortable. I did what I needed to feel comfortable with. So I'm just going to continue working on my borders. And it helps to practice this stuff on some other plastic around the house before you do it, because you really do need to get a feel for how these tools work and what it feels like to cut through this polymer, because you really do need to get a sense for it, or else you're going to have a hard time figuring out whether or not you should be doing what you're doing. And I slipped up a little bit here. You can see that's a little jagged, but again, I'm going to fix that by either sanding or dremeling back a clean line. So just know you do have the ability to go back and fix some things. This material so far is surprisingly more forgiving than I had imagined. But again, each person is going to have a different comfort level with what they're willing to try to do on their firearm. All right. Now I'll just go back and try to clean up some of these areas that could be a little deeper. I'm trying to go not super deep, but deep enough where I can get that good definition once I stipple. And that takes a little bit of work to keep going over it. Again, I'm making some mistakes here because this area is a little bit rounded. So it's real easy to slip up with the tool. But again, I'll fix that. I will go back over that later with the Dremel and get things back to where they need to be. All right. Yeah, because some of these things that are inside my border here, again, once I stipple, that stuff will disappear. You can see there's a little, I screwed up this channel, but again, we'll fix it. Not a big deal considering all the other things that can go wrong. This is one that I can fix. Yep. All right. The last piece is going to be the back strap. And again, this is a piece that's really hard to screw up because, again, you're dealing with such rounded edges. So, you know, take your time here. Go slowly. And you should be okay. So, I need to figure out what I want to do here. And I know it's really hard to see the pencil here. You can sort of see where I'm drawing. Again, it's hard to come up on the camera, but you'll see it when you're doing it. And I'm just trying to follow the outline that was already put in when they stamped this material at Glock. So I'm just reusing those same lines to draw my borders. Okay. All right. Here goes everything. Go slow. Okay, here's the rounded piece. This is where you're going to run into some problems, so you want to go slow. hands are shaking because I'm nervous. So that does not help when trying to do this work. Okay. Again, I'm going to straighten up these lines in a little bit. Okay. So now my borders are done. I'll go back again and probably clean up the borders one more time after I'm done stippling, just in case it bleeds over onto my border. The stippling job, I can always just run the cutter through again and fix it. All right, now we're going to go ahead and begin the stippling process. You can pick yourself up a wood burning tool on Amazon. I think I paid 12 bucks for this. Pretty much all you need. They come with a lot of different tips that you could use. I am going to go with the medium point one because I am going to do just a straight dot pattern throughout for my first time. I'm not going to try to get too fancy, and I've done the dot pattern a few times on some other materials, and it's come out relatively well, so that's the one I feel comfortable going with at this point. In the future, if I don't blow this firearm up, I may be willing to try other patterns, but for now I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible and just do the circular dot hole. Also, you're going to want to make sure as you use this stuff, make sure that the tip is clean. You don't have a lot of excess residue from polymer left over because it'll skew your the holes you're trying to make. So every so often wipe off the tip, make sure you got a clean surface. So what I'm going to do real simple is I found with the dot patterns, if you just start somewhere in the center and start working around in a circular pattern, that usually works well, and I can go out from there. So I'm going to go ahead and okay, and I'm simply just keep making dots in a circular pattern, and you keep working your way out. Now, again, if you think you've screwed something up, don't be too worried, because going back over with the stippler, with the new stipple, will oftentimes clean up any deformities you might have left. So far, this is pretty much it, guys. I mean, this part is just slow and steady. I do notice that my hands start getting a little shaky after a while, so I will go for a few minutes and then stop so my hand does not slip and make something of a problem. And you can just keep turning your workpiece around a little bit to keep working on that circle. I'm trying to stay away from my edge so I don't screw up the border I made. And if you get bored, you can just start a circle somewhere else. I find it helps with the tediousness of this. And as you start filling it out, you just start joining those pieces. You know, so far on the little work that I've done, I think the hardest part is really just laying out your design, drawing it very even-handedly, which I will admit I did not do. All right, again, slowly working it. You don't have to press very hard, you know, once your wood burner is at the right temperature. I mean, this stuff goes in like butter. You know, I haven't seen anybody poke through the frame when they're doing this. I imagine you could do that, and you're probably putting way more pressure than you need to. The tool should be doing the work for you, and you simply should just be letting the material melt on its own. This thing does get super hot, so you may want to try wearing gloves if you need to. And you do the best you can to try to keep the holes roughly the same size. I mean, it's the variability of doing it by hand that gives it such a cool look, but you definitely want to try to be consistent as much as you can with the size of these holes. And you can always go back over them. It's pretty straightforward. So far it's looking pretty good. Nothing unexpected at this point, but all it takes is a little boo-boo to screw things up. That's why I recommend taking some breaks, because after you do this for a while, it's real easy to get careless and try to rush, and then you make a mistake. And this darn wood burner's getting hot even to just hold. All right, so one side done. I think it looks pretty good. Again, I'm going to go back and clean up these borders so we'll have nice smooth lines and everything is consistent, but as of right now, it's coming out pretty cool, and it's definitely got a nice grip texture to it, and I think it's going to come out looking pretty good. I mean, again, the hardest part, I think, is drawing out your lines and making sure you get nice, straight, even lines. That's something I think I'm going to have to work on. Again, I think I can fix a few blemishes here with not a lot of problem, but it's definitely, I think, the hardest part so far of the process. The stippling piece, at least with this pattern, is pretty straightforward and simple. It's just time consuming. And you can always go back. Like if you might see here in some where the circles aren't as close together as they can be, I can go back over those. And it fills in real easy. Okay, so that's one side. I will continue on. I'll take a break now and come back and then do the other side. All right, thanks. All right, guys, so I am done, or at least as done as I think I am. It came out pretty well, surprisingly. I was really nervous with doing this, that I was just going to completely boffo the gun. But I think it came out really well. I mean, again, this is the first time I've ever done this. I think I need to work on my lines to make sure they get a little straighter. And again, that can go back to, you know, doing a better job with stenciling out the grips and everything. But overall, I'm very happy with this, and you can see it's pretty cool texture there. Gives a lot more grip. I think it looks good. All right, guys, well, listen, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit subscribe if you want to subscribe to my videos. And then, you know, in the comments, tell me what you think. You know, try to be nice, guys, because I'm a little sensitive. I know I'm not a pro at this, so be kind. And feel free to share any of your stippling jobs so I can see how well I'm doing. All right, guys, thanks.